We would be amiss to not talk about Michael Rapaport. Obviously, he is a comedian. At least that's what he pretends to be.
We went and saw him when he was here.
Yeah.
Back, it was almost a year ago already.
It's got to be something like that. Yeah. A handful of us went to Miami, and we ran into Fred Frost. He was there.
And you know, and I always like Michael Rapaport. Like, I mean, he's funny. I mean, like, there were things he did that was funny, but now he has apparently gone off the deep end.
Okay, I might not be super familiar with this, but yeah, please lead the way.
No, he like apparently didn't he like move over to Tel Aviv or something?
So he's gone to Tel Aviv, and he basically has turned into the most rabid. He's Deborah Messing adjacent. That's how bad he's gotten. Like, this
really?
Oh yeah, like he crossed over and literally flew over to Israel and is there
basically
like in Tel Aviv.
Basically, fuck the Palestinians. Like that's where he's going.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
Well, I know Amy Schumer had some not so great takes.
Horrible.
I guess I did hear a little bit about Michael Rapaport, but I didn't hear the extent of it.
Oh yeah, no, picked up and moved, like left, went there.
But
wow.
How did that happen in the world of comedy? I mean, I understand, you know,
it's not funny.
It's not. And of course, there's the stereotype that it's Michael Rapaport, it's Amy Schumer, it's Sarah Silverman, but there's just no excuse for this shit. Like, you can't be in the what is supposed to be the anti-establishment world that is comedy and go along with what the establishment wants you to do. I always thought that Jenna Kirkman was one of the best examples, and with all due respect, she's not funny. But she was so anti-Bernie and anti-anybody who wasn't for Hillary or for Joe Biden. I'm thinking, you're a comedian? You got a special on Central?
I mean, it was to the point where she was like convinced that Bernie bros were the reason, like they stopped her from selling tickets or something.
Yeah.
I don't know where she's at now, but I think she went like she would massively block anybody who was a fan of Bernie. So I've never had any interactions with her. I've never met her, but I was just blocked by her on Twitter, probably from her en masse blocking of any and all lefties or like left adjacent people.
So what's been your personal experience? You know, we've seen you, obviously with Jimmy, more specifically, we've seen you with Graham. You know, you and Graham in particular still have that real anti-establishment streak, but there does seem to be quite a few people in the world of comedy that's not the thing anymore. Like, there really is this sort of disconnect with certain comedians that are just going along with the establishment, and that just seems so.
They're just neolibs.
Yeah, well, maybe.
Well, that's pretty Hollywood, though, to tell you the truth. I mean, a lot of Hollywood. There are lefties in Hollywood. I would never suggest otherwise. There totally are. But as far as like the money and the resources, it's very, Democratic Party, blue no matter who, Joe Biden. I mean, I literally, I don't want to get too specific here. I'm not going to name names, but I literally know people who in the 2020 primary, they liked Bernie the best, but they supported Liz Warren because they were worried if they didn't, their writing job could be in danger. So it is very like, we don't rock the boat, and also the other side of it, there's a lot of money on, like the right, like the Daily Wire world, the Ben Shapiro world, the kind of like contrarian right wing world.
Yeah.
There's a lot of money there. There's a lot of money to be like DNC establishment. If you're actually on the left, we don't have much as far as power goes. I mean, as far as some of the big people, it's like Sarandon, Adam McKay has his production house, Boots Riley up in the Bay Area. That's about it as far as the heaviest of the heaviest hitters.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people doing cool stuff. And so, and that is, some would argue, that is slowly changing because, there's kind of more and more lefties and it's kind of becoming more and more embraced. Is that the case? Is it not? I can't really say for sure because honestly, things have kind of been shut down for a freaking year, like we were talking about prior. So, I mean, I'm just sort of hoping auditions come back soon. And it's not like every audition I walk into, I'm like, Rob Placone left us here. Is that okay? A lot of times it doesn't come up, but yeah. So I guess like the best answer I have for your question is like, yeah, Hollywood is not some super lefty thing.
No.
Neither is comedy. I mean, there's always like, as long as I've been doing stand up, there's always been this sort of like attitude that apathy is kind of cool and nihilism is kind of cool. And I think a lot of that can be traced back to comics listening to Bill Hicks and totally missing his point. Or listening to George Carlin and totally missing his point. I mean, those are two of my favorite comedians, but a lot of people I think kind of missed the mark with what they were really about. They were not apathetic at all. So I think that has something to do with it too. And yeah, there's just a ton of money in like those, like if you're not in one of those two lanes, which I'm not, it's a harder go of it. It just is, I mean, whenever people say like, oh man, being a conservative in Hollywood's so difficult. No, it's not. You have your lane. There's plenty of money in the Vince Vaughn world. So there's tons of money and funding there. And of course there's tons of money if you're, at the DNC dinners, but if you're an actual leftist, that's
right.
who it's actually hard for in Hollywood. Actual leftists are
people think Democrats leftists. So when they think, oh, sure, Hollywood's all leftist, I'm like, no, not so much. There might be a lot more Democrats, but that does not make them leftist.
And that's the knee-jerk reaction that works so effectively for people that are in that Ben Shapiro lane to just point at the Democratic Party and say that everybody's this, lefty, socialist or whatever. And that is true, Holly. That's, what, Ron, like a prime example of that would be Amy Schumer, because
unfunny. At
least Sarah Silverman is funny, but Amy Schumer is not funny. Like, I never found her funny. She's
not funny.
And again, Jen hates when I ever bring up looks. It's like, as far as I'm concerned, okay, and the thing that she did recently, which was so ironic, was that she actually brought up the fact that she's related to Chucky the Shoom, and at the same time made it seem like, but I'm not that close to him. He never did anything for my career. When you have the name Schumer, that did something for your career.
For sure.
Whether you'll admit it or not.
Yeah, so I don't know Amy Schumer. And to be honest, I don't watch her comedy. So I have no opinion on her comedy. I have no opinion on her looks. I think she looks fine. I don't have an opinion.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, I mean,
get on me.
I don't care. I mean, I think Sarah Silverman is physically attractive. I don't think it matters, but like whatever. Like I don't care. But and to be honest, I don't follow her comedy super closely either, to tell you the truth. So I can't really give an opinion on their comedy. But I highly doubt that there was never any type of situation where that Chuck Schumer connection didn't help her. I just highly doubt it. I mean, I find it very, very unbelievable. And stuff like that happens all the time. And look, I mean, I think Big Mouth is a brilliant show. I enjoy it very much. But, I mean, I don't think that... I'm pretty sure the fact that his dad is a billionaire has helped Nick Kroll. Like how could you expect it not to? His dad's a billionaire. So... I think it's just one of those things. And yeah, I know that she mentioned that, she's related to Chuck Schumer. I don't know what spawned it. I mean, I always knew that about her. It was just something people knew, but I don't know what spawned her to talk about it. I don't know if it was, but she got really upset at the pushback she got when she was talking about Israel, Palestine. And, I kind of don't really have any I don't really have any like sympathy when that happens to any comedian. Like it's whenever people are like, "Oh, I'm being canceled," and blah blah blah. It's like, well, wait a second. You said something, people reacted to it. That's not you being canceled. That's called cause and effect. And we all put up with that. I will say things, some people won't like them. So they won't buy a ticket to my show. They won't subscribe to my podcast or whatever else. They're not canceling me. They're just making a decision. And that decision is not to migrate to what I'm doing. All I can do is keep being me and keep doing my thing. And hopefully the people that do like it find it. And, I can't really dwell on the people who don't. I'd never be able to sleep at night. None of us would.
And you look around at everything that's going on right now, from the economy to what's happening in Gaza, what's happening, to the fact that they will not end the war in Ukraine. It's like everything that a person who's awake to what's going on can look at somebody like an Amy Schumer who is acting like she is somehow a persecuted individual.
Oh my God.
Being as wealthy as she is and well-connected as she is, and yet still at the same time trying to say that everybody else, is making her life more miserable. I can understand why there is such a devastating backlash in so many ways, and rightfully so, because I do think we are reaching a breaking point as a country. I don't think that you can look at a lot of the things that have happened politically, economically, on the domestic side, but you cannot look at what is happening in Gaza and think that we're ever going to come back from that. That is a point of no return. And anybody who has stood on the side of that and is still standing on the side, who still thinks it's a good idea and that we haven't done enough. Jed's been saying from day one that if you think that the bombs are what's going to kill the Palestinian people, you don't know anything about warfare, because it's just been reported, I think it was either last night or early today, it's about 600,000 people in Gaza right now, Palestinians, they are going to starve to death. And so that's just the start. And who knows what type of diseases are going to get passed around?
Lots.
I mean, to me, that is the awakening that I think once you are proverbially red-pilled, whatever you want to call it, once you recognize what the real problems are, you can't look at these little minute issues that people who are living in very comfortable positions are claiming is the real problem. The real problem is that our system is failing, and I think enough people are starting to see it. And once that happens, there is no going back. It's just a question of when that generational change ultimately happens. Sorry, I had to throw that in there.
Yeah. Well, I just don't. I mean, I hear you. Like, I don't see how anyone can see what's happening and not like and be okay with it and still kind of make these, well they're dropping the rocks down below before they bomb them. Well, they shouldn't be bombing them, first of all, and second of all, there's nowhere for people to go. Thousands of people have died, a lot of them children, and that it's like, but the hostage, but this, and it's like no one's okay with that. No one's saying that's fine. Everyone's against that. But what we're also against is bombing a bunch of innocent people who had nothing to do with this. I don't see how that's complicated. It really isn't. And I get that we are arguably, look, I have not traveled enough of the world to be able to say definitively that the U.S. is the most war propagandized nation on earth. I can't say that one way or another. I can say if there is a more war propagandized nation than us, I've never been there. And I have no desire to ever go there. I've never been to a place more war propagandized than the United States. And if such a place exists, I don't want to go there. And so, there is this narrative that, like, oh, they're just finding the bad guys. And of course, they're not trying to hurt any civilians. And the Israeli government is doing nothing wrong, which, of course, is absolute nonsense. And, the Israeli government is a big right-wing regime who's committing absolute atrocities. And, well, if you say that, that's anti-Semitic. Well, now we have the internet and we have a lot of means of communication. So that whole trope is getting harder and harder to purvey when you see, tons of organizations like Jewish Voices for Peace and tons of, synagogues all over the country, like including the one in my old neighborhood in Pittsburgh saying not in our name. So that whole, I don't know what you would call it, just misdirection basically is wearing thin, but it's still a pretty thick record that they continue to play. They've been playing it for generations now, and they're still trying to do it. And we still have to fight back against it. So it's like, first you have to get through the muck of, no, it is not anti-Semitic to criticize the right-wing Israeli government. And then you need to get to, kind of the point of what is really going on.
Thanks for watching. If you want to support our mission to transform politics into service, please like this video, subscribe, follow us on social media, and consider joining our Patreon, where you'll get early access to our interviews as well as other exclusive content. Links are in the description. Peace out.